Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back for some more competitive VGC Regulation H battles in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. In this video, I'm going to be using one of the best early meta teams. This is a team that you absolutely have to prepare for because you're going to see it everywhere, and that's Hyper Offense Dondozo. The idea is that you're using Max Attack, Max Speed Dondozo with Choice Specs Gholdengo, Choice Band Dragonite, Choice Scarf Tatsugiri, Pawmot with Fake Out and Revival Blessing, as well as Covert Cloak Talonflame with Tailwind as well as Will-O-Wisp Pressure. Everything on this team does massive amounts of damage, and it's really hard to stop all the damage that comes from it. This is a modified version of a team that won one of the very first Scarlet and Violet VGC Regional Championships. That team had Murkrow over Talonflame because Talonflame didn't exist back then. It was built and piloted by a player called Luca Paz, and I actually did a video on that when Scarlet and Violet VGC first came out, so if you want to check that version of the team, I'll link it down in the description below as well. But this, of course, draws a lot of inspiration from that team, and it is easily one of the best compositions right now. So you either need to learn how to use it or learn how to beat it because it's going to be everywhere. Anyway, as always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down in the description below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Anyway, let's get started. If you're interested in trying out the team, the rental code is on the screen, and there is an accompanying Poke paste down in the description below. This is a newer version of Dondozo with Talonflame. A very similar version of this team won one of the first Scarlet and Violet VGC Regionals featuring Murkrow over the Talonflame slot. And the idea is that you just have a ton of offense. It's really difficult to deal with the combination of so many choice Pokemon as well as a very offensive Dondozo. And you've also got Pawmot to pressure with Revival Blessing to heal up your Dondozo after it's fainted and be able to combine with Tatsugiri a second time. Everything on this team just has a ton of offense, and it's really difficult to deal with the pressure from all of the individual Pokemon, let alone them combined. Breaking each individual Pokemon down, the first one to highlight is Dondozo. This is just the go-to default Dondozo. It's very powerful. Dondozo is a Pokemon that actually has a ton of flexibility between its Terra, its item, its ability, even its moves and EV spreads. So there's so much that you can deviate from, but this is just kind of the standard bread and butter Dondozo set, and it's good for a reason. You're able to just dish out massive amounts of damage with Adamant Nature Max Attack, and with Max Speed, you're able to outpace most of the format once you combine with Tatsugiri. Grass Terra is really nice defensively, lets you survive those super effective grass and electric type attacks, and of course gives you immunity to Spore from Amoonguss, which is valuable as well. And even with no bulk, when you have leftovers and you're combined with Tatsugiri, you're able to soak up damage and heal back pretty reasonably as well. So yeah, this Dondozo is just kind of standard, but it's very powerful for a reason. Tatsugiri here is also standard. You can run a bunch of different items on this. Some people run Focus Sash, some people run Specs. I've even seen Safety Goggles, but Choice Scarf is a nice go-to because once Dondozo is fainted, you just have something that's really fast and can pressure with knockouts with Draco Meteor. Choice Scarf Icy Wind is also a natural nice means of speed control, so that allows you to drop your opponent's speed, so then Dragonite and Gholdengo can outpace your opponent, which is really awesome. Water Terra plus Muddy Water is something that you can use as well to deal massive amounts of damage. So Tatsugiri obviously is not going to be coming out and doing a lot of damage by itself. Most of the times it's going to be, paired with Dondozo, but this set just allows you to clean up a lot of end games, which is awesome. While this team is, of course, a Dondozo team, the rest of the team also has a ton of offense. You've got two other choice users in Choice Band Dragonite as well as Choice Specs Gholdengo. This Choice Band Dragonite is interesting because when you look at it, you're probably thinking you'll want to click Extreme Speed most of the time with normal Terra. In my experience, I actually end up clicking Outrage a ton because I find that in this format, there aren't very many Pokemon that can actually take a Choice Band Outrage really well. Of course, Fairy-type Pokemon are going to be the natural nightmare for this Dragonite to deal with, but even Pokemon that resist Outrage, like a Gholdengo, for example, are often still taking over half their health from Choice Band Outrage. The main downside with Outrage, obviously, is that you can't target who you'll be targeting with it, and it can last from 2 to 3 turns, and of course, the slot is just locked into Outrage once you click it, so if you lead something like Dragonite Dondozo and you commit to Outrage, you just suddenly can't combine with Tatsugiri nearly as easily. That being said, Outrage is an exceptional move, and I like to use it especially in the end game to close out games once you've knocked out a couple of Pokemon, but it can even be strong as an early move just to pressure your opponent, especially if their team just has no Fairy types, for example. Otherwise, you've got Extreme Speed, which is kind of one of the go-to moves with the normal Terra, and then Stomping Tantrum and Brick Break for some more type coverage as well. Choice Specs Gholdengo has returned to the format, and it's just an absolute beast. We've seen Gholdengo evolve a lot throughout Scarlet and Violet VGC, from Choice Specs to bulkier sets with Leftovers or Metal Coat with Nasty Plot, for example, and now we are just back to the basics. The reality is that Choice Specs Steel Terra Make It Rain is just one of the most powerful moves that you have in the format, and if your opponent does not lead properly against it, it can just win you the game immediately and blow things wide open. Gholdengo and Dragonite are both exceptional leads with Dondozo, I think, because often people will target Dondozo expecting you to switch into Tatsugiri, and then these Pokemon with their choice items can just take advantage of that and dish out massive amounts of damage. You've got Thunderbolt here, which gives you a little bit more coverage, and then Trick, which is really nice, especially against physical attackers like opposing Dondozo, for example. The final two Pokemon here are Pawmot and Talonflame. Now, Pawmot won a regional championship on a team that looked very similar to this, piloted by a player called Luca Paz in the beginning of Scarlet and Violet VGC. And so this team, I think, draws a ton of inspiration from that team, and that was, in my opinion, one of the best Pawmot teams and best uses of Pawmot I've seen in Scarlet and Violet VGC. What makes Pawmot so nice is you have a fast fake out, you have really good offense between double shock and close combat, and you get Revival Blessing. Revival Blessing is an amazing move when you can revive Dondozo or Tatsugiri, right? So there will be games where you will have Dondozo will faint, but then Tatsugiri is still around, and then Pawmot can just revive the Dondozo, and then you can combine again for a second set of Dondozo plus Tatsu. I will say that in my experience playing with this team, I've played maybe 20-ish games or so with it, and I actually haven't clicked Revival Blessing that frequently. It's a little bit more difficult to execute than you might imagine, and sometimes, you know, the thing to think about with Pawmot is if you're clicking Revival Blessing, it means you're not dealing damage, and so you're left exposed on the field, and a lot of the times I'd actually rather just be clicking close combat or double shock, but Revival Blessing is just another tool for you to enable Dondozo or the rest of your team once again, and that can be really scary for opponents to deal with. The final Pokemon is Talonflame. The initial version of this team back in Series 1 was the Murkrow on this slot. Talonflame now exists as a Tailwind user. You also have Whimsicott in the format, but I think Talonflame is really nice because you dish out a lot of damage with it as well. Everything on this team is offensive, even the support options in Pawmot and Talonflame, and yeah, this Talonflame just puts on a lot of offensive pressure. One of the things to think about with this team is that Dondozo does not like going up against Grass-type Pokemon. You do have the Grass Terra, obviously, but for example, things like Rillaboom, Amoonguss, Meowscarada, Whimsicott can all be kind of annoying because they resist your wave crashes. So you've got the Dragonite, the Gholdengo, the Talonflame, these are all Pokemon that can really give those Grass-type Pokemon trouble, right? Gholdengo, for example, an absolute nightmare for Amoonguss and Rillaboom to deal with. Talonflame, really good in taking care of Whimsicott, being able to match their Tailwind with your own Tailwind, and the Will-O-Wisp here is also an exceptional move against opposing physical attackers, like opposing Dondozo, for example. In terms of playing with this team, the first thing I always ask myself is how can Dondozo fit into the matchup? Is it something that can just start sweeping my opponent right away from turn 1? Is it something that is countered by a couple Pokemon or one Pokemon on my opponent's team but can otherwise completely destroy them? Or is it something that has multiple counters from the opposing side and I actually don't want to bring into the matchup at all? Once you figure that out, then it's a question of do I want to lead with Dondozo, right? So for example, if you want to lead with Dondozo, I think Dondozo Dragonite and Dondozo Gholdengo are really exceptional leads because it's hard to deal with the pressure of Dondozo potentially combining with Tatsu immediately, as well as dealing with the offensive pressure of Dragonite or Gholdengo. Both of these being choice users means that your opponent have to show them a lot of respect. But for example, let's say they double up into the choice slot and then you just switch them out into Tatsugiri, Dondozo gets a free attack off. That's really hard for your opponents to deal with. So I find that Dondozo plus Dragonite, Dondozo plus Gholdengo are leads that can give you a big lead immediately and make it tough for your opponent right from turn 1. Pawmot's really good with things like Gholdengo and Dragonite. You just have fake out pressure immediately. If you're leading Pawmot, obviously you won't be able to get Revival Blessing off as easily because you have to wait for something to get knocked out. So back Pawmot's something that can be effective as well. But if you're looking just for, you know, something like your opponent has, for example, Murkrow, right? You can just go for fake out, Steel Terra, Make Your Rain, and just eliminate that right away. Talonflame obviously is nice for Tailwind as well. So you can lead Talonflame with Gholdengo or Dragonite, right? Just go for Tailwind and then go for your choice attacks immediately to dish out massive amounts of damage. But I think if you are thinking about Dondozo, it's effective to lead it with Dragonite or Gholdengo in particular, and then sometimes you can just have Dondozo and Tatsu in the back, and then, you know, have a combo of 2 of the 4 between Dragonite, Gholdengo, Pawmot, and Talonflame. But to me, I center a lot of the decision making when I use this team around what are the best Dondozo counters for my opponent's end, and then how do I beat those counters quickly so that Dondozo can just come win the game for me. In terms of ways to beat this team, let's first talk about Dondozo counters. If you're able to drop Dondozo's stats via something like Haze or Clear Smog, that'll give you a huge advantage. Dondozo also doesn't love getting hit by status conditions, especially something like a Will-O-Wisp, and removing its leftovers is also a big deal. So just to name some couple of examples. Haze, for example, you can use something like Haze Murkrow, Haze Primarina, Haze Palafin. The tough thing about Haze is you still have to position these Pokemon properly, right? Just because you have Haze doesn't mean you just win against Dondozo, because a smart Dondozo player will kind of wait and bait out those Haze users, knock them out, and then bring Dondozo Dondozo out. But of course, those users mean that Dondozo has to show a lot more respect, and you just can't combine with Tatsugiri immediately. You can also consider something like Clear Smog Amoonguss, which is a huge nuisance to Dondozo because it forces the Grass Terra out, and you're able to get rid of the stats, and Amoonguss in particular can heal as well. Other ways to deal with Dondozo, you can consider something like Grass Terra Incineroar with Will-O-Wisp and Knockoff. That allows you to resist the Wave Crash and the Earthquake. You don't take that much damage from Order Up. Incineroar, of course, can fake out Cycle and have that Intimidate, and if you go for that Grass Terra, you remove that Leftovers, you get Dondozo burnt, then Dondozo just sticks on the field for a long time and is not very happy. Encore is also a really valuable move that you can use to deal with Dondozo. So Encore from something like Whimsicott, for example, lock Dondozo into a suboptimal attack and then use the rest of your team to deal with it. And of course, hitting it with super effective attacks are still valuable. One of the things to also think about with Unaware Dondozo is that you can use the Unaware against Dondozo. So if something like a really powerful Choice Specs user, right? Choice Specs Hydreigon with Draco Meteor, for example, is powerful because you can just keep going for these Draco Meteors. And this Dondozo has no bulk, right? So combined with Tatsugiri, of course, you're going to be surviving attacks, but you won't be taking them super, super well. If you're looking for like a really hard counter, we've seen even like Scope Lens Focus Energy Hydreigon, where you just go for that Focus Energy and then your Draco Meteor crits after, right? Also know that Dondozo, even when combined with Tatsugiri, is not going to be outpacing all of the format, so using really fast Pokemon and leveraging them to your advantage can be helpful as well. In terms of the rest of the team, I think the one thing that I really want to call out is that you just don't have Protect on anything other than, of course, the Dondozo. So that's something that you can take advantage of, saying, okay, my opponent cannot Protect right now. I can just launch attacks relatively safely. I've also struggled against like opposing Dondozo teams. I found that opposing Dondozo teams have pretty good techs, right? Like when you want to deal with opposing Dondozo, you want to use, for example, Gholdengo, Trick onto it, or Talonflame with Will-O-Wisp. But I had one game where my opponent had Dondozo with Pelipper and Archaludon. I led Talonflame Gholdengo trying to bait out Dondozo early. They led Pelipper Archaludon, and immediately I was just in really bad shape, right? Because like I couldn't switch in anything safely to take a Electro Shot, for example. I couldn't Protect either. So if you're able to, catch this team off with a bad lead, that can give you a big advantage. Gholdengo or Dragonite are, somewhat fast Pokemon, but they don't have like the fastest base speeds, and this Dragonite actually has no speed investment really other than 4 EVs, and so that's something you can like leverage to your advantage as well. This Gholdengo, for example, with Steel Terra is exceptionally weak to just powerful ground type attacks, right? So imagine like a Garchomp with Earthquake with Ground Terra, that can be really scary. And Talonflame is a Pokemon that often will just go down after one hit, and so that's something to think about as well. But yeah, I think a lot about this team is using your Dondozo counters, but also saving them and not just like losing them in the early game so that Dondozo just ends up coming out after the counters have been defeated. All right, this one is a fun one. It is the team that we started Regulation H battling content with, featuring Sinistcha as well as Pelipper and Archaludon, Maushold plus Annihilape, and of course, trusty friend Incineroar. So the Sinistcha is actually a pretty big problem for Dondozo here. Talonflame is interesting because it's not Fire Terra on Annihilape. So I could lead something like Talonflame Gholdengo. I could also lead Pawmot. But then you can just Terra your Maushold. Dragonite's Outrage here isn't bad. Outrage is actually really good. It's interesting. I'm actually thinking like Talonflame, Dragonite, Dondozo, Tatsu. Okay, I'm down for this because basically I want to be applying pressure into Maushold plus Annihilape, but I think Talonflame is also worth bringing into this battle because my opponent has Sinistcha. So having something to pressure Sinistcha with Brave Bird is really quite nice. Okay, they go with Mouse Ape here. That's fine by me. Against this, I think I'm happy to just Tailwind and Outrage. There's no switch into Outrage right now, which is really good. We also could have considered normal Terra and just Extreme Speed Brave Bird into Maushold to try to KO it. But my hesitancy with that play is if they actually find the Ghost Terra play with Maushold. But no Terra here. So we get Tailwind up. Okay, Choice Band Outrage is going to get launched into Mouse Hold, and that's a one-hit knockout. Cool. I was happy with the Outrage going into either slot here. I would expect Annihilate to survive thanks to Friend Guard, but yeah, they just opt for Rage Fist here. Also, I think like my opponent was tasked with a difficult decision there on turn 1. They notably didn't go for Follow Me, but I think Follow Me is something that is worth considering because otherwise I just pressure Brave Bird or Will-O-Wisp onto Annihilate. So with this team, don't be afraid to go for that Choice Band Outrage if your opponent doesn't have any fairies, right? In this case, like everything just takes so much damage from Outrage that I don't even care where the target ends up going into, right? So Pelipper comes out now. We've got the Dondozo in the back. I'm happy to just Brave Bird Pelipper here, because I could see Annihilate protecting. Okay, they don't protect either Pokemon, so Outrage now should just get another one-hit knockout, I would think. Yep. Oh, it actually, the Annihilate survives with what looks like 1 HP. That's impressive. Okay. Weather Ball here will knock out the Talonflame. I wonder what the damage roll on that is. They go for Bulk Up, but that's totally fine. Bulk Up is not really scary right now. Okay. You heal back. And then I think here we can just go out into the Tatsugiri. I'm impressed that the Annihilate survived that though, honestly. Was not expecting that. Here I'm happy to go for Dragon Pulse, and I will target the Annihilate slot because a Hurricane won't knock out either of our Pokemon here, whereas I don't want the Annihilate to get like a Drain Punch and heal back a lot. And yeah, Pelipper protects. I mean, it might just be a double protect from their end, which is also fine by me. But it's not going to be. Cool. And in this case, normally you want to bring Dondozo out so you pressure like combining with Tatsugiri, but because we're locked into Outrage, this is one of the things you do have to think about when using Dragonite, is that if you get locked into Outrage, you obviously can't switch that slot out. If Dragonite had finished Outrage last turn and was confused, then I'd probably just bring Dondozo out and then combine immediately. But now they're just going to bring out our Chaladon. Cool. This is interesting because I think you can actually make an argument to straight up go for, like, stay in here. I probably should be combining with Dondozo. It's just that they could read it and then go for, like, Electro Shot into the Dragonite slot. So the other play I'm thinking about is actually just straight up Dragon Pulsing here. But to be honest, even if they go for Electro Shot and Hurricane, it's not the end of the world. It's just that because Pelipper protected, like, I have a pretty free Dragon Pulse into Pelipper right now. And Outrage. But I think Dondozo becomes pretty bad against my opponent if I don't combine it. So, yeah, I think we should go for the fusion this turn. Okay. I don't know. I really thought about it, though. Because, like, Choice Band Outrage also just does so much damage into the Archaladon. If, like, this switch-in is fairly obvious, where, like, I think it totally makes sense for my opponent to just rip it and click Hurricane plus Electro Shot this turn. But I think if they don't get this turn correctly, we should just win the game. And even if they get it correctly, we're still not fainting, because we're defensive enough to take these. But, okay, Hurricane ends up going into Tatsu. Oh, it's Dragon Pulse here instead of Draco. Okay. So same Pokemon from the Sinistcha team that we had featured, but different move choice here. Tailwind peters out, which is fine. 2 turns of rain left. I'm going to protect here to bait out a Protector Terra from their end. Draco Meteor would be better for my opponent here as well. Dragon Pulse like limits their damage output, whereas like with Draco against Unaware Dondozo, you can continue to ignore your own special attack drops. But what was really important for me in this early game was just, yeah, denying like the mouse hold from getting the beat up off or doing a not ton of damage into Annihilate immediately. If turn 1 Outrage had gone into Annihilate, since they were going for beat up, they would have knocked out Talonflame. I would have gotten, you know, around like 75% onto the Annihilate. Then I think I probably would just switch in Dondozo and then consider switching. Would I go into Dozo? Okay, they're gonna go for Electro Shot here. Yeah, on turn 1, basically, I figured there's a chance my opponent goes for Follow Me as well. But maybe we could have just launched Brave Bird instead. No, I don't mind Tailwinding, though, because Tailwind just denied the Rage Fist, or sorry, the beat up from going off. So, yeah. Okay, last turn of Rain here. They went for Electro Shot. We can just Grass Terra now. Order up into Pelipper. And then with late game Tatsugiri and a Dragonite with Outrage in the back, I don't think our Chowdon can basically 1v3 this game. But yeah, like Dondozo is honestly quite tough for this team to deal with because it ignores Annihilate, boosting itself up. And then our Chowdon also can't do very much to us once we Grass Terra, especially since this variant is running Dragon Pulse. Sinistra actually is the key to beating Dondozo here for my opponent, but that's why I wanted to bring things that had good matchup into Sinistra. And that's why it was important for me to not commit to Dondozo too early on. The way that you deal with Dondozo with that team is basically like use Sinistra and use Life Dew / Rage Powder to be really, really disruptive. Rain stops. Cool. So now we just have a 1v1, but you just basically do no damage with our Chowdon, and Unaware here is just so good for us on Dondozo. So yeah, happy to just click Order Up a couple times. Yeah, that's a 2-hit knockout. Nice. So one of the biggest skills in using Dondozo is basically assessing when it's time to bring it out. And in this game, like, I didn't want to lead with it immediately, especially wanting to respect, like, Water Terra Annihilate. Because, of course, you could Water Terra immediately to resist Wave Crash and then go straight for, like, Beat Up, which is scary, into Rage Fist. So I figured Dragonite was really good as a lead here because there was nothing that resisted Outrage. So normally it's like, it feels iffy to commit to, Choice Band Outrage this early on in a battle. But in this matchup, I think it made a lot of sense because, like, there's no fairy types, very few things I can switch in, regardless of whom Outrage targets. It just does so much damage and pressures with a 1-hit knockout. In fact, I'm just surprised that Annihilate actually even survived that Outrage even without Friend Guard. Like, that was impressive because I thought the game was over as soon as Outrage went into Annihilate on the second turn of the game. But yeah, we were able to get rid of the Mouse Load immediately, deny the Rage Fist stacks, and if you can deny that beat up onto Annihilate, Annihilate suddenly just becomes so much less scary. So if you're looking for answers into Mouse Hold plus Annihilate, one of the things to consider is having something that can just knock out that Mouse Hold. Now, in this game, Outrage was not guaranteed to target the Mouse Hold, but like I said, I was willing to make that gamble because, one, it would mean that Mouse Hold would have to not go for Follow Me, and two, even if Outrage went into the Annihilate and Annihilate survives, which it should, it's still okay because you take so much damage and then you're in potential KO range from Dondozo, for example, in the subsequent turn, if I combine into Tatsugiri. All right, we have Hard Trick Room for this one, so this is an exciting team. Armarouge, Hisuian Zoroark, Torkoal Indeedee, Ursaluna, Annihilate. I think the main thing to worry about here is Choice Scarf Annihilate. So if I'm my opponent and I want to set up Trick Room, Indeedee Armarouge is the go-to lead. Scarf Annihilate is a pretty big issue because you can obviously just Final Gambit, but we have Pawmot. So one of the fun things is actually going with Pawmot plus Dondozo, where I can just Revival Blessing immediately. That being said, I think Dragonite's also really strong in this one. Dragonite. Call me crazy, but I'm actually thinking Dragonite plus Dondozo because I can Outrage, and if they lead Indeedee Armarouge, Outrage goes into Indeedee, then Wave Crash goes into Armarouge. Pawmot plus Tatsu. All right, let's try this out. One other thing to think about is Clear Smog Torkoal, by the way. That is a move that you can run on Torkoal to beat Dondozo, and when this Scarlet and Violet VGC first started and there were these Hard Trick Room teams, Clear Smog was a tool on Torkoal. The Hisuian Zoroark, by the way, adds a whole nother layer of depth here. It's really cool to see that Pokemon. I think it's very underplayed. One of the cool things about Hisuian Zoroark is that you're completely immune to opposing Annihilate, so it's a nice tech against Mouse Ape. Also, it just means that, like, leads-wise, we're in for, kind of a mind game right away to start this. So, this is a really fun team. Hard Trick Room is a very good composition, obviously. Armarouge Ursaluna. Okay. What do we think here? There's no Annihilate. To me, like, Grass Terra this and then switch into Indeedee or Protect makes sense. If I click Outrage here, I no longer can combine with Tatsu, which is a problem. What do we think is in the back? Do we also think this is Zoroark right now? I don't want to Extreme Speed in case they switch into Indeedee. I do think I might just switch into Tatsu right now. And Wave Crash. Because, like, even if they go for Grass Terra, it just means no more Terra available, right? The scariest play would probably be Ursaluna out into Torkoal, Grass Terra, Trick Room, and then you have Clear Smog, so then you Clear Smog me next turn. So I don't know, like, a part of me really wanted to just click Outrage here, but I think, like, going for Outrage takes away the option of combining into Tatsu, which is also not great. But it was tempting, because if Outrage got the right target immediately, we'd be in a huge advantage. They are going to Terra here, so I presume it's Terra Armarouge. Yeah. Oh. They Terra Psychic. I don't know if that's enough for them to survive. Very cool. Weakness policy, weak armor. Now Indeedee comes out. Unfortunately for them, I think Dondozo kind of just beats this. But that was a really cool, yeah, Hisu and Zoroark with the U-turn. Now you bring out Indeedee. Cool. So you had their expanding force, but with Unaware now, I don't think you KO me. It is Psychic Terra, you know, terrain boosted, but still. Yeah, doesn't even do half. Nice. And Wave Crash just KOs in response. So this is one of the cute techs you can do with Armarouge. You can sometimes even run Stored Power, for example, for a really powerful move, but yeah. And this also means you didn't bring Annihilate, so now you're stuck with Hisu and Zoroark, as well as Ursaluna Blood Moon. So I think you have to go into Zoroark right now, but the Zoroark, I don't think can KO us. I guess we have Helping Hand, maybe. I don't want them to set up Trick Rooms. I'm just going to Wave Crash Indeedee right now. Because I don't think Zoroark really should be able to... Okay, yeah, they just follow me, which is fine. And just Hyper Voice. Yeah, that's totally okay. Great. We get Wave Crash off here. That's a one-hit knockout. Cool. Rocky Helmet, which is fine, so we end up fainting. I think Recoil may have just taken us out anyway. Cool. So now it's 3v2, but I still have Terra available. I have Pawmot, which can close combat. I will bring out the Dragonite first. Like, Outrage is just so good right now. It's funny to see double Ursaluna. Actually, I guess with Pawmot, I probably could have just gone Revival Blessing immediately. But I think this is also fine. I am happy to just Dragon Pulse into the... Because we have Pawmot as the last one, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to just Dragon Pulse here. And Stomping Tantrum. Oh. I didn't think that would one-shot the Zoroark, but... Basically, in my head, like, even if you double Hyper Voice, well, Dragon Pulse plus Stomping KO Zoroark, and then I have Pawmot in the endgame, and I just close combat Ursaluna. With Focus Sash, I can obviously survive a hit, and we have Psychic Terrain, so even something surprising like Vacuum Wave wouldn't work. But I think I probably also could have just gone to Pawmot and gone for Revival Blessing, and then had a second Dondozo in this game. But this just ends the game a little bit quicker. So, yeah. Cute strategy. Fortunately for us, Dondozo with Unaware is going to be very effective against what they had. So, you know, they like committed their Terra, didn't even do half the Dondozo, spent a lot of resources, and like allowed me to figure out it was Zoroark right away. But I didn't see that coming, so I should have thought about that more, because yeah, it would be kind of weird to just lead Ursaluna right away, given that team composition. So that is something that you can just like catch opponents off guard with, and against the right teams, you just win the game immediately on the spot because you get a double knockout with that expanding force. But Unaware Dondozo is just so good in stopping something like that. All right, we've got Pelipper, Archaludon, Rain here with Incineroar, Amoonguss, and Volcarona. So the classic problem here is not knowing the Amoonguss set. Are you Clear Smog? Clear Smog Amoonguss alone changes the Dondozo matchup so much. Archaludon can obviously infinitely Electro Shot. The Volcarona set here, I would expect to be a defensive set as well. Will-O-Wisp maybe, Grass Terra, which would be a huge nightmare for Dondozo. One thing to note is that they don't have any Outrage resistances, but I would expect Choice Band Outrage to just miss the knockout on a fair number of their Pokemon. What do I want to lead here? They could just go Pelipper or Archaludon. I mean, they have so many good combos here, in my opinion. I think I dropped Talonflame for sure. Maybe drop Gholdengo. The problem is this getting hit by a Draco Meteor, right? Okay, I'm gonna go Dondozo. Gholdengo, Pawmot, Tatsu. I think Dragonite may have been the better call overall here, but I brought Gholdengo because at least it doesn't just get one shot by Archaludon. I also brought Gholdengo because it's quite strong into like Rilla plus Amoonguss, for example, and both of those are obviously really good into Dondozo. Dragonite's good into Rilla and Amoonguss as well, but I like Gholdengo more because it's immune to Spore and Fake Out, whereas Dragonite's only immune to Fake Out. Amoonguss Volk, okay. The problem is not knowing the Volcarona set here, because like I said, I think it makes sense for it to be Will-O-Wisp. But if it's just Heat Wave here, or Fiery Dance, they could just knock out Gholdengo on turn 1. So not knowing the set here is actually a really big issue. It would be amazing if they like Grass Terra'd Will-O-Wisp me turn 1. I think I'm going to go Protect and just regular Make It Rain, because I don't want to blow a Terra quite yet. But this is risky, right? Because if this is offensive Volcarona, I'm going to start off with a really big deficit. I just think it makes sense for it to be... I mean, does it make sense for it to be defensive if you're leading it with the Amoonguss? Because, like, why would you need 2 Rage Powder users? But yeah, I think one of the hard things about playing Dondozo in best of 1 is not knowing if your opponent has text to beat it. Okay, we do see a Terra here. I mean, I'm hoping it's like Grass Terra Volk here, and then they target Dondozo, expecting me to just switch. Okay. They might just be offensive Volk, though, with Grass Terra, but I would expect to survive Heat Wave. Steel Terra would have been awesome here, but either way, I'm still happy with this. Oh, we're faster, too. Okay, huge. Oh my gosh. Beautiful. That's already such a good start, regardless of what Volk does. Okay, it's Quiver Dance. Nice. I'm fine with that. Clear Smog. They just spored. Okay. Fine by me. Lefties Volk. I think the main thing is I don't want Volk to really get recovery off, so now I'm happy to Terra, Wave Crash into you, and then just switch into Tatsugiri. Because Volcarona is going to probably want to Giga Drain here. If you Fiery Dance / Heat Wave, that's fine. I take some damage, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I think like this is one of the things that makes Dondozo so hard to play around, right? It seems kind of wild to just stay in with Gholdengo there, but I figured like unless you're really offensive Volcarona, like even with Quiver Dance, a lot of times you invest a ton into bulk and actually not that much special attack investment, so I would expect Gholdengo to survive a Heat Wave turn 1, right? But I wanted to respect it being potentially defensive Volk with Will-O-Wisp, because a Grass Terra into a burn, if I pivot into the Tatsu immediately, is just so bad for us. And I'm going for Grass Terra here just because it helps against both Spore as well as Giga Drain. And I think one of the ways we could lose this right now is, even though we've gotten all this damage onto Volk, imagine if they get a Giga Drain off, heal back so much, and then Amoonguss Pollen Puffs as well. That's not ideal. So here, if Volcarona protects, that's fine. You can't Spore me anymore, and another Wave Crash should just knock them out. This also gets around Rage Powder. But yep, there's Giga Drain. Perfect. Excellent. It does 24 damage. Nice. So I think, yeah, one of the things about playing Dondozo in best of one is fishing for the sets that your opponent has, right? Like turn one, I was looking for Will-O-Wisp and Clear Smog. Neither of those came out. We baited out Terra. Now we knock out Volcarona. Maybe they still have Clear Smog, but I wouldn't expect them. Well, I think Clear Smog still does make sense, honestly. But I think even if we were to get Clear Smog right now, we have a big lead, so it'd be okay. It's not the end of the world. But they side Pollen Puff. Perfect, yeah. I think their play makes a ton of sense because it's like if you do get that Giga Drain and Pollen Puff off, suddenly your Volcarona is just back up to near full HP, right? But I figured with Grass Terra, like what's the worst case, right? We run into a fire type attack from there and that's totally fine. So yeah, I think we should be in a just very game winning position at this point. Like they've committed their Terra and their Amoonguss has taken so much damage. Rillaboom comes out, which is totally fine. Now you're just healing me up a little bit more. I think the main question here is whether or not I want to protect. I'm actually not going to protect in this situation. Like, their best play is to just, like, fake out in Pollen Puff or switch Amoonguss out into, say, Incineroar. And I didn't want to protect in case Instinct's coming out right now, because then they could fake out me next turn. There's a chance they don't even click fake out right now, right? Then they just U-turn out. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Oh, and we crit order up, unfortunately, for them. Yep, and they U-turn out. So their play is really smart. This is exactly why I didn't go for Protect, though. Because if I had Protected there, basically then you bring Instant out, you get the Intimidate, and then you can fake out U-turn and basically keep cycling. But now I just got a lot of damage onto Incineroar, right? So the idea is to just make this difficult for them. I'm also healing back so much from leftovers plus grassy terrain that, like, they're just in a really tough spot, right? But that crit obviously makes things even harder for them. Because now I can just Wave Crash safely into the instant slot. You could fake out with Instant, pivot out into Rillaboom, I guess. +2. Yeah, I'm happy to just Wave Crash here. Okay, and they don't bother clicking fake out either. Cool. So now you just have no more fake out pressure after this. It's actually Rocky Helmet Instant, which is a pretty valuable tool against us. Okay. They do have Sludge Bomb, so that will actually do a ton of damage to us. 129 down to 57. No poison, though. So now you bring out Rillaboom. I can just protect, get more recovery, and Gholdengo just wins the game at this point, right? Like, this is why Gholdengo is so good on Dondozo compositions, because a lot of people will want to bring multiple Dondozo answers, right? Like Rilla Amoonguss, and like Gholdengo is just amazing against both of those, right? Now I just click Choice Specs, make it rain. Just double check the field state, 3 turns of terrain left. Yeah, so it's always safe to protect this turn. The only downside of protecting here would be if like Rillaboom had taken damage and they go for Side Pollen Puff. But yeah, basically in this game, we were able to figure out the Volcarona set. You know, I made kind of a gutsy turn 1 play, but I actually thought it was relatively safe since I figured, yeah, even if you are the offensive set, like, are you really just going to click Heat Wave on turn 1? Because I could just switch into Tatsugiri, right? So I think Dondozo Gholdengo is a lead that causes a lot of mind games and forces your opponent to make difficult calls right away. We even bait out the Terra, so Make It Rain just does so much more damage, right? If they didn't Terra on turn 1, then turn 2, at least they could like go for the Terra Giga Drain. But once we baited out Terra on turn 1 and got all that damage off with Make It Rain, I knew I was in a really commanding position. This is a really cool team. Instant Toxtricity, Gothitelle, Kommo-o, Murkrow, and Gholdengo. The combination of Murkrow and Goth is interesting here because it means that it's a lot harder to get Dondozo online. So cool. A lot of the offense is going to come from Kommo, Toxtricity, and Gholdengo. Could be set up on those. Toxtricity could be Throat Spray. Normally when I see Murkrow, I'm inclined to go with Gholdengo plus the Pawmot. It's also an interesting one because if I Terra Grass Dondozo, I'm actually weak to Toxtricity. before and after Terra, which is scary. If I go Pawmot Dondozo and they lead Gothitelle, I just straight up can't pivot out, which is scary. I might go Dondozo Gholdengo. Pawmot Tatsu. The logic behind this is even if they lead Gothitelle, I can still switch into Tatsugiri. If they lead Murkrow, I can just protect, steal Terra, make it rain. I think Dozo is very good, but essentially there are two things we need to watch out for. Getting Haze and also being able to actually combine Dondozo, right? So yeah, they go Toxtricity and Murkrow, which I'm totally okay with. I think the main question here is whether or not I want to go for Steel Terra with this, because if I Steel Terra, it means Toxtricity can go for electric type attacks onto us. But I think if it means knocking out Murkrow, it's worth it. So I want to just protect Steel Terra and make it rain. If Murkrow has Protect here, or it actually survives the Make It Rain, that would be really bad. It'll make for a very interesting turn too. Because the thing about Murkrow is, yes, you have Haze, but you have to like figure out when to actually click Haze, right? Sometimes people might think like they want to go for it immediately here on turn 1 because they think I'll just switch Gholdengo out. Okay, looks like no Protect from Murkrow, which is good. Could also be Sash Murkrow instead of Eviolite. They try to Thunder Wave us, okay. That's spooky. Overdrive comes out. Okay. It's a lot of damage. Is that Choice Specs? It feels like Choice Specs, right? Nice. We get the knockout on a Murkrow. Even with Toxtricity, almost just gets the KO. Wow. Perfect. Oh, but if you have Gothitelle, I don't have Ghost typing anymore. Ooh. Okay, I just lose both of my Pokemon right now. Yeah, you just fake out Overdrive. That's nasty. That's really cool. It's okay. I mean, I have Pawmot, so I can Revival Blessing. What good does Revival Blessing even do for me, though? Because I can't switch in. Yeah, Goth is such a unique answer here into, like, Dondozo stuff. And, yeah, like, without Terrain, I don't think I actually get that knockout on turn 1. Fascinating. I also wasn't expecting Toxtricity to do this much damage. I can fake out Muddy Water right now, right? They haven't Terra'd yet. Their last one is likely Como or Gholdengo. It might be better to... Do I want to Dragon Pulse? I lean towards fake out Muddy. If I were my opponent, what would I bring as the 4th Pokemon into this matchup? Incin, Como, or Gholdengo? I mean, Incin actually does make sense into Dondozo, but they already had pretty good Dondozo answers. I don't think I'd bring Gholdengo. I think I'd bring Como personally, but they could just Terra that, like I said. Okay, I think I will fake out Muddy here. Tox switches. It'd be great to see an Incin come out right now. But it is Como. Wow, that's kind of a risky play because I could have just faked out Dragon Pulse that slot. Okay, Muddy Water does connect at least. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting finish. Because I can Revival Blessing to bring one of these back, but I assume they're just going to knock out the Tatsu right now. Like, what I want to do is aggressively target down Gothitelle. Double Shock Muddy. Oh, Como protects. Okay, I mean, unless Goth protected, I think that actually might just win me the game. Okay, they're just double protecting. That makes sense. That would have been a cute turn to go for Revival Blessing. But, like, I can't switch anyway, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. I think Gothitelle is so fascinating as a potential tool for Dondozo, so... and then the Toxtricity, just the damage output from it was amazing as well, so... This is a really cool team by my opponent. Okay, it means I can Double Shock Muddy Water again, though. And I think Pawmot could pull off a 1v2 in this endgame as well. I'm worried about Citrus Goth right now. Accuracy drop is nice. Oh, with Citrus, I don't know if Double Shot KOs Goth. they're defensive enough. Let's see. Oh. Has like 1 HP. Oh, it's Clangorous So Como. Okay. Interesting. Throat Spray as well. Heal Pulse too. Yeah, I guess I should have just committed to saying they had Como in the back and locked into Dragon Pulse. Like, Dragon Pulse and Toxtricity would have just won me the game on the spot. Como still needs to technically hit its attacks right now, because it can miss. If Como is slower than Tatsu... I mean, the problem is you have this defense boost, right? So I'm definitely not KOing you with close combat anyway. Yeah, so I'm going to go for Revival Blessing and Muddy Water. Oh, they do protect. Okay, so they give me the Revival Blessing at least. That's interesting. Who do I revive, though? Because, like, I think it's better to revive Dondozo, because I don't expect Tatsugiri to make it out through this turn. But yeah, this is like, yeah, missing the knockout on Goth by 1 HP was so bad, because we got in that knockout could at least, like, get Dondozo back online, right? I think it might have to be Gholdengo. The fact that Toxtricity is faster than Gholdengo is such a problem, though. I just, like, if I bring out Dondozo, they're just going to knock out Tatsugiri next turn anyway, right? Yeah, I'll go into Gholdengo. We're not going to, but revive that. Okay, close combat Goth. The main thing is we did get that accuracy drop, so they could miss, right? So I was thinking, like, I could win off a miss. We knock out Goth, and then I just fuse into Dondozo. But no miss here. Means Clanging Skills will just target both. Yeah. The main thing in this game was Goth surviving. And I think me clicking Muddy Water, Dragon Pulse was probably just better, but I was worried about Gholdengo being their last one. And in a world where Gholdengo is their last one, then of course it's better to lock Muddy Water. And I figured Muddy would be fine because we're getting so much damage on a Goth, but they had Citrus, which is like a really common item, so that's not really a surprise. But it was the fact that they had Citrus and then they were able to survive with like 1 HP. If Goth fainted there, I think we would be in a winning spot because Toxtricity is Choice Bexed. And then so they don't get the heal pulse off, right? So then I'm at full HP with Pawmot as well, and close combat just pressures both slots. But this was a really cool team by my opponent. Definitely one of my favorite teams I've seen from the regulation, and just very nicely played as well. Yeah, so we're basically banking off a miss right now from this. I need a close combat at KO Toxtricity too. But right now it's like, yeah, if you just connect on Pawmot, you win. But if they were to miss Pawmot, I could have won. And yeah, we did survive Clanging Skills, but this is the downside, right? Toxtricity is also just faster than me. So that was so cool. That was so cool. And the overdrive. Kudos to my opponent, honestly. Really unique way of dealing with Dondozo, right? Like in this game, I just couldn't get Dondozo and Tatsu combined because of the Gothitelle trap, and having committed Protect on turn 1 meant, and my Terra meant that Choice Specs Toxtricity just absolutely destroyed me. So I think that was just masterful execution by them. And yeah, you can get creative with your Dondozo answers. You know, Gothitelle didn't previously exist when Dondozo was first introduced in Scarlet and Violet, and now that the power level of the format has decreased a little bit, Goth is interesting. The problem with Goth is you still have to face things like Gholdengo as well as Incineroar. But yeah, I think the way that my opponent maneuvered that game with the Choice Specs Toxtricity in particular, and I also didn't know what kind of combos that my opponent would have. And like, we definitely had the tools to win that one, right? The problem was I didn't know what my opponent's last one was going to be. I didn't expect the Clanging Scales, Clangorous Soul combo as well, even though that set does make a lot of sense. I think I've just been like up against so many Iron Defense body press sets in the previous regulations that I kind of conditioned to thinking it would be that. But if I had actually just gone like Fake Out into the Gothitelle Dragon Pulse, it would have been okay. But like I said, my worry was locking in a Dragon Pulse and then their last one being Gholdengo. But I think it makes more sense probably to bring Como out in that matchup than Gholdengo. So I could have made a better educated decision there. And if I had clicked Dragon Pulse as the Como switched in, I think we probably just win the game there on the spot. So yeah, like the good thing is we have the tools to win, right? Even with the trap and all the unexpected strategies. But you know, what the tough thing about Pokemon is not always knowing, obviously, what your opponent's going to have in the back. And the Como just came out in the perfect spot. But that was a really, really cool game. Ooh, we've got a Brambleghast here. That's really cool. Talonflame, Garchomp, Tyranitar, Gholdengo, Glimmora, Brambleghast. Dondozo feels solid here. Not into Bramble, though, especially Strength Up Brambleghast. I don't know what item gas would be here, though. Normally, I would expect Focus Sash, but when you have Sand with Tyranitar on the team, I'd expect that a little bit less. Talonflame, Garchomp is the main lead to respect from their end, in my opinion. Dozo was good, but what do I want to lead? I might go Talonflame, Dozo, Pawmot, Tatsu. Gholdengo's main issue here is them having multiple resistances in Talonflame and Gholdengo, as well as Garchomp pressuring with Earthquake. Dragonite here is threatened by Glimmora. So the idea here is if I bring Talonflame and I combine with Dondozo, I have Tailwind plus Tatsugiri, making Dondozo really tough to deal with. My main concern is Strength Sap on Brambleghast. If they have that, Gas can just wall us pretty effectively. Gholdengo Talonflame, which I don't mind seeing though. Okay. I wonder if this is like Choice Specs though, and they go for like Thunderbolt onto us. We could just trade Tailwinds on turn 1. I could Grass Terra this immediately. I could also just Flare Blitz Gholdengo. I actually don't hate Flare Blitzing and protecting. So we're gonna protect. Cool, they try to Will-O-Wisp us, nice. So we bait that out. Now I get Flare Blitz into Gholdengo. They are bulky enough to survive just with the Sliver, okay. Yeah, and they have Trick as well. That makes sense. So they're trying to go all in there and just disabling us. It makes this next turn really interesting. You could, if you're Talonflame, just Brave Bird into us. The thing is that Gholdengo exerts no offensive pressure right now. I might let them just trick us, honestly. You could also Tailwind. If you don't Tailwind, actually, then you don't get your Trick off, I guess. So they have, like, Tailwind Trick is their play. Oh, the alternative is Brave Bird into this and Trick, I think. I might switch into Tatsu, actually. Tailwind? Tatsu. Curious if they go with the Tailwind route or the Brave Bird route. Okay, they Tailwind. Nice. And they're gonna Trick now onto us. Thank you for the Choice Specs. Enjoy my Choice Scarf. And now we Tailwind. So there's Scarf now. You still can Brave Bird. You can like Brave Bird plus Shadow Ball something, for example. Or you could Will-O-Wisp. Like, I could switch Talonflame right now, straight up into Dondozo, right? This turn's really interesting, because it's like, it's pretty safe to switch, but they might trick Will-O-Wisp into this. I think I'm down to, what could they switch Gholdengo out into? Brambleghast? I'm down to Flare Blitz Gholdengo, and actually Specs Muddy Water. Gholdengo pivots, that's great. into Glamora. Cool. Unless you're Life Orb, I think we should survive Braveford. And yeah, they try to fish for the Dondozo, but we're not going to give it to them. If Muddy Water double connects here, I think the game's just over because we've taken their choice specs and it should just KO both of their Pokemon. But obviously could miss Muddy. We are going to get a miss onto Talonflame. That's the more important one to hit, unfortunately. So it doesn't feel great, but it is what it is. We're still in a pretty good spot. Glamora does set up that layer of Toxic Spikes, though, which is obviously not super ideal. And there's Brambleghast. Okay, yep, they had it. So it's going to get that Wind Rider boost. Worried about just getting double knocked out right now. What if I switch into Dondozo now? I don't think this is the right time to do that. I personally want a Will-O-Wisp here and Muddy Water. Okay, I'm down. Oh, and they Brave Bird into Tatsu. Nice. And we survive. Excellent. Nice. Okay, Willis connects. That's big. Great. And they Strength Up expecting Dondozo to switch in. Perfect. Yeah. In this game, like, we just made our opponent really scared, I think, and just never brought in Dondozo. Oh, Specs Muddy Water also does so much to Brambleghast there. Wow. Nice. Yeah, it's like, don't be afraid to use Tatsugiri as an offensive option, right? So now we know it's Scarf Gholdengo as their last one. No Terra's been committed, but they've been burnt on Bramble. We just need one more attack on a Gholdengo to get the KO. Gholdengo can outpace us here, though. I don't know what their final attack on Gholdengo is the question. The other question is whether or not I even want to pivot into Dondozo right now. Because I could just happily give up both Pokemon. Toxic Spikes, Tailwind. Yeah, this game isn't 100% won yet, right? Because Gholdengo will outspeed Talonflame, so you can Shadow Ball here and KO us. Okay, you know what? I think now I'm down to switch into Dondozo. And the reason for this is because Brambleghast is burnt. Okay, yeah, they just forfeit. But basically, like, we just need one more attack to knock out the Gholdengo. So, yeah. And with them being Choice Scarf, like, they're not really putting on very much pressure. So I can bring in Dozo, get the knockout, and then it's a 3v1 against Brambleghast inevitably, right? And then I can even Revival Blessing. But the main thing in this game is I think my opponent was just, like, trying to cover for Dondozo switching in at any point. And I knew how dangerous it'd be to switch in Dondozo thanks to the combination of Will-O-Wisp as well as Trick and Strength Sap. And I basically just never brought it out. They kept trying to fish for it, and it never came out. Alright, we've got Murkrow here with Gholdengo, Meowscarada, Garchomp, Rotom Wash, and Amoonguss. Hello, Rotom. The Murkrow is obviously a really big deal, as well as a lot of their team, to be honest. Like, Amoonguss can have Clear Smog, Meowscarada can crit us with Flower Trick, and Rotom Wash can burn us with Will-O-Wisp. So, how do we want to respond? This is an interesting game where I think it actually makes sense to straight up not bring Dondozo. And the reason for that is because I think if I'm my opponent, I would definitely be bringing... Like, I could see them just straight up bringing Murkrow, Meowscarada, Rotom, and Amoonguss, for example. So, one of the things I'm intrigued by is something like Pawmot plus Gholdengo with Dragonite plus Talonflame in the back. The logic behind this is that a lot of players will like to lead Murkrow, and against that, we can just straight up fake out Murkrow, Steel Terra, make it rain, and just get rid of it immediately. That would deny them Tailwind setup. You know, if we had Dondozo in the back, like, this would also work as a lead, but I actually think I'd like Talonflame and Dragonite more as offense in this game because it's, like, these Pokemon are really good into their Dondozo counters, and I think they have so many Dondozo counters, right? So, yeah, it's going to be Murkrow plus Rotom as a lead. So against this, I'm happy to just eliminate Murkrow immediately. So we're going to go Fake Out here, Terra, make it rain. Once Murkrow's eliminated, this gives us a lot of good speed control. Like, I think the 4 that make the most sense for them to bring if you're trying to beat Dondozo is Murkrow plus Rotom, and then Amoonguss plus Meowscarada. And, like, for example, Talonflame plus Dragonite would just have such a good matchup into that. One of the things we can consider right now is just Choice Band Outrage after this, right? So, Murkrow flinches. We go for our Specs Steel Terra. Make it rain here. Beautiful. And so far, everything has gone to plan. Now, the reason I didn't bring Dondozo into this matchup is even if Murkrow's eliminated, like, Dondozo still has to get through Rotom Wash, Meowscarada, and Amoonguss, and that's not exactly super fun for us. Turns out it's actually Nasty Plot Rotom here, so Dondozo actually would have been a little bit better with Grass Terra plus Unaware. If you're running Nasty Plot, it means you're probably not running Will-O-Wisp, and they do have Garchomp as well. Okay, cool. Totally fine. What we can do now is... They obviously pressure with Earthquake, so we can just pivot Gholdengo out. I'm happy to close combat here into the Rotom. And switch into Dragonite. Yeah. Basically, Choice Specs Make It Rain just does so much damage to their team other than Rotom. So if I can just get more damage onto Rotom, then I can bring out Talonflame, Tailwind, and then just Make It Rain into everything. Cool. Close combat does very nice amount here. If they don't have Citrus Berry, then I think one more Make It Rain actually does get the knockout onto them. But it is Citrus Rotom. Okay. So Citrus Nasty Plot, pretty fun set here. Makes sense for them to just Earthquake and then Thunderbolt into the Pawmot. So there's the Earthquake. Yep. That brings us down to Sash. Okay. And they go for Hydro Pump, and it's going to miss. But looks like they targeted the Dragonite slot anyway, expecting a switch out. So wouldn't have done too much, but obviously lucky there. I think we can just Outrage at this point, right? Like, they don't have a true Outrage switch in. Gholdengo's still taking over 50% from it. So I'm happy to just close combat into Rotom here and click Outrage. Garchomp pivots. Okay, works for me. Into Gholdengo, maybe? Nope, it's going to be Meowscarada. Okay. This is why I brought Talonflame in the back, right? Like, now Talonflame can just simply click Tailwind. And we'll be able to outpace with the Gholdengo. So, they did indeed bring a lot of Dondozo answers, right? Like, Rotom, Meowscarada, as well as the Murkrow, but the rest of our team just has such a good matchup against all of those. So, one of the important things in using this team is recognizing when to bring Dondozo and when you can actually drop it. Because the core of Pawmot, you know, plus Dragonite, plus Gholdengo, plus Talonflame, like, you have two choice users that do so much damage. You have a fake out user that can revive those things, and you have Talonflame with Tailwind pressure, right? It's just, like, such a nasty combination. So, I am happy here to... I think I'm happy to just click close combat into Meowscarada. Okay, they're going to commit Terra, but that's fine. I'm okay even losing both Pokemon here, because then it's just a free switch into Talonflame plus Gholdengo, and we can just Tailwind plus Make It Rain. And with no defensive Terra on Garchomp here, Make It Rain is just a double knockout onto their end now. I don't want to switch in Talonflame and then just, like, have that get blown up. Meowscarada actually protects. Okay, that's fine. So close combat, we'll go into the Protect. They're going to Dragon Claw into the Dragonite. It's not going to get the knockout. And Outrage actually correctly targets Garchomp. So probably is a one-hit knockout even with Terra. Yep, cool. And there's Rough Skin. That's one of the reasons why I was avoiding, you know, targeting Garchomp the last few turns. As Garchomp faints. Perfect. Now we're confused. Just go for close combat once more. And Outrage once more. Cool. They're going to Flower Trick into us, but that's fine. At this point, we just bring out Talonflame and click Brave Bird. So yeah, I think one of the most important things to consider when you're using Dondozo is recognizing that you don't always have to commit to Dondozo, right? Like, you can bring neither of them. There are even games where you can, like, bring one of the two pieces to catch your opponent off guard. For example, like, Scarf Tatsugiri is not a terrible offensive option, especially because of its ability to outpace so many things. But now we just get to bring in Talonflame and Murkrow again. And that's one of the things, especially in best of one play, is, like, your opponent see Dondozo and they immediately feel forced to bring, like, multiple answers to it, because it's so hard to, like, for example, drop your Dondozo answers, because what if I do bring Dondozo, right? So it's kind of this situation where they kind of just have to respect it. We can just Brave Bird. Cool. And Talonflame delivers the finishing blow. And yeah, like Talonflame was just so good into so many things that normally give Dondozo trouble, right? Like Dondozo doesn't love going up against grass Pokemon. Obviously, it can Grass Terra to get around it. Rotom Wash is also pretty annoying for Dondozo, right? Because we can't Earthquake it. We can Order Up it, but it'll take a couple Order Ups to knock out, especially with Citrus Berry. And then Wave Crash Rotom resists as well, right? So, and Will-O-Wisp is obviously pretty common as a move on Rotom Wash, and so I wanted to respect that, because there's really no way around basically Rotom taking an attack and then burning us, and a burnt Dondozo suddenly just feels so much more useless. This is a really fun team. They've got Berserker as well as Gholdengo, Politoed, Porygon Z, Dondozo, and Curly Form Tatsugiri. Oh man, I really don't want to play the Dondozo versus Dondozo war. How do I beat opposing Dondozo? Trick with Gholdengo is actually really interesting. I do think I should bring Talonflame for speed control this one. I really want to bring Pawmot, but I want Talonflame and Gholdengo, which doesn't feel great. I guess I could go Pawmot Talonflame. I'm just thinking like we can use Trick as an effective way to beat them. Like our Dondozo Tatsu beats the top 4 on their team, so then I just want like Dondozo answers, right? And if I'm able to Trick into Dondozo, get rid of a leftovers, and they can't protect, and they're stuck with the useless item, that's huge. So I think I'm actually going to just go Talonflame Gholdengo, Dondozo Tatsu in this one. It feels odd to drop Pawmot though, right? Pawmot exerts so much offensive pressure into their comp. So I think there's another world in which I go Talonflame Pawmot, Dondozo Tatsu. But basically the way I'm thinking about it is I'm able to trick their Dondozo before they can do anything into my Dozo. My Dozo can just come out and slowly win the game, basically. Porygon Politoed, where, okay, Pawmot would have been excellent here. I mean, this is still fine, right? Like, what's stopping me from just going for Steel Terra Make It Rain? Just like, what is the odds that this is Focus Sash Porygon? What does Porygon go for right now? Huh. Yeah, I mean, I think the safe play is just Tailwind, Choice Specs, Make It Rain. I don't think I need to commit the Terra to Dondozo on my side in this game, but not the lead. I was hoping to see Dondozo come up from there, and this lead from there and is really Pawmot weak. But I guess Pawmot in general is just a fairly strong pick. Like, the only thing I didn't want to see would be something like Politoed Gholdengo. And Porygon Z is just kind of a wild card. Like, it could be Life Orb, Specs, Scarf, even Focus Sash with Trick Room to really catch me off guard. Okay, no Protect, no Terra, no Switch. So we get Tailwind, but I don't know if I even want that Tailwind. If this ends up being Specs Porygon Z with... Or sorry, a Sash Porygon Z with Trick Room. Okay. We don't see a Sash, that's good. The main thing is I really, really want to get Trick off with the Gholdengo. Ooh, Muddy Water, okay. That just knocks us out. Ah, this is scary, because, like, I won't be able to Trick if I just bring out Dondozo right now and switch into Tatsugiri. Yeah, so much for the Trick plan, actually. That just isn't gonna work at this point, right? Do we end up just in a Dondozo war? I really didn't want that. Oh boy. Okay, well, I don't really see a way around it. But with both of us having Unaware, I mean, at least at the speed advantage for now, but we're not PP maxed with Order Up. That might be an issue in itself. I could always protect this turn and get a Make It Rain off right now, especially with Unaware. Oh, they stayed in with both. Interesting. Okay. Their Dozo protected. If they're going for that, I wonder if Politoed is going for a defensive move onto my Dondozo. Yeah, it was Hypnosis. Now I think I should switch into Tatsu. I think they surely switch out now. The alternative is just giving up Gholdengo here. I just don't know if I win the 1v1 against their Dondozo, which is why I want to like chunk it away with Make It Rain first. They haven't Terra'd either. Okay, I am not going to switch. Yeah, so Poly pivots. It's interesting that both of us decided to not switch there that last turn. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going for this Make It Rain just to get a bunch of burst damage on a Dondozo initially. It's not really that much, though, I guess is the problem. Given that they were Fisher, I was never going to win this. Because, yeah, they basically can just keep fishing for Fisher, and as soon as you hit one onto me, I'm done for. Wait, it's Life Orb Fisher Dondozo. What? Okay, well, given that you're Life Orb, this is still maybe winnable. I can just Draco Make It Rain. This is crazy. But I assume they're like max speed Dondozo if you're Life Orb. So then Tailwind stalls out and you can just knock out Gholdengo, I assume, with Wave Crash. It's crazy that they had Fisher and they got it on the first hit. Life Orb Fisher is also an insane combination. Alright, they go for Terra here, so probably some kind of defensive Terra. Or it could be offensive Water with Surf. Yeah. And I'm assuming your Dondozo is faster here. I mean, Fisher Dondozo is actually huge in the mirror match, so it's an excellent tech from them. Yeah, we just fall short of the KO. And I'm assuming Dozo just outspeeds me here. Yeah. Oh, if that Fisher had missed, we definitely would have had a better shot at winning this game. Actually, I guess given that they were Life Orb Dozo, it means you didn't have healing, right? So if you actually missed your Fishers, my Dondozo would win. But, you know, your odds of connecting on just one Fisher after going for it a couple times is not terrible. I could also still win this, theoretically, if Draco just KOs their Tatsugiri. But I'm at -4 now, so I wouldn't count on it. It's funny because I actually got eliminated from the European International Championships by Surf Dondozo, but that set did not have Fisher. Fisher here is... That side had Sleep Talk, which is really nice in dealing with Amoonguss. Crazy team. Yeah, I mean, we're at... Oh, and it's Damproc, I just noticed. That's really cool. What an awesome team. Oh, and they have Protect on Tatsu. Okay, yeah, so you just Protect Hypnosis here. Yeah, I really wonder how this game would have played out if that first Hisher didn't hit. But I was expecting defensive Dondozo here, and it is a complete bluff here, which I think is super neat. We actually dodge Hypnosis, so that gives us a chance as well, but I'm assuming you're Focus Sash Tatsu. Oh, we're not PP maxed here. This is a good reminder to PP max or Draco Meteors. But yeah, it's not enough to KO anyway. I think Protect Hypnosis is always safe though, so I like that. Might as well. You don't have much to lose from it. Even if I were to correctly target Politoed, then I just drop my stats even further, and I assume they have Focus Sash. So yeah, I was expecting this to be like a super defensive Dondozo thanks to the Tatsugiri form with Body Press, but it ends up being Life Orb Fisher with Surf, and the first Fisher connects. But like I said, Fisher is a really helpful tool in the Dondozo mirror. Like you're, especially on that Life Orb set, like you're only really using it against opposing Dondozo. This was a really exceptionally hard game to play in best of one because they had so many surprises. Like I was never going to predict for that kind of Dondozo set. So that's just really smart team building. And honestly, even in open team sheet best of 3, like that set still totally works, right? The idea is normally you have Surf and Wave Crash with Water Tear and Life Orb to just like completely demolish things. And then Fisher just helps in the mirror match. The 4th move on that set, because you have Protect, is normally not that important anyway. So you can slot in Fisher because it specifically helps you in the Dondozo 1v1. So yeah, that was a really, really cool set. We have a regular Typhlosion here on my opponent's team, which I think is really cool. Indeedee, Gallade, Ursaluna, as well as Sneasler. So it's a really fast-paced team. And we can match Tailwind with Talonflame. I'm worried about Wide Guard from Gallade, and then Whimsicott like Scarf Typhlosion lead. Fake Out becomes less effective from Pawmot. I do think Dondozo's damage is just good here, though. I might be willing to go Dondozo, Talonflame, Tatsu, Pawmot. To me, like, I don't really see too many clear Dondozo answers from there, and it'd probably be Sunny Day, Whimsicott, and then if Whimsicott had Encore and Sunny Day, we could pressure Dondozo a lot more. Because then, like, Dozo wouldn't be able to knock it out, but then I could just, like, pressure Brave Bird, turn 1 onto Whimsicott, which is why I'm leading Talonflame. I don't like leading Pawmot here because of the risk of Covert Cloak, as well as, oh, it's Whimsicott Ursaluna. Okay. Interesting. I don't want to be protecting in front of potential Encore. I think I'm down to just Wave Crash Whimsicott and Brave Bird it. You could switch into Indeedee technically here to set up Psychic Terrain, blocking priority Brave Bird. That would be cool. But then you have Indeedee and Whimsicott out in the field on turn 2, and then you're not exerting much offensive pressure. So cool. Ursaluna protects. I never really have much of a reason to target Ursaluna here on turn 1. Without Flame Orb activated, you're just not very scary. So yeah, you get Protect and Tailwind off, but at what cost, right? I get a free knockout onto the Whimsicott, which is already a really good start. Perfect. And the Brave Bird there's obviously to try to just get the KO, but if they Terra, then that's why I also Wave Crash that slot. I think the main thing was to not get tripped over here and switch Talonflame out into Tatsugiri immediately and then Wave Crash, because then, for example, I could be caught in a much trickier position, right? But now, like, I still have the flexibility of switching in. I could still Tailwind with Talonflame as well. So, one of the things about Dondozo is, like, figuring out when to switch in and when not to. Gallade's gonna come out. I mean, honestly, now I feel like I can pivot into Tatsu. So I'm down to just Wave Crash. Switch in Tatsu. I think, yeah, it's just important to eliminate Whimsicott. To me, I felt like their only real Dondozo answer was Whimsicott, and that's because of the threat of Sunny Day and or Encore. So, yeah, Tailwind is actually not as scary, but I just want to get it out of the field, basically, as quickly as I can. Now, I mean, like, Facade and Sacred Sword will do a lot of damage, but shouldn't KO us. I'm also curious how fast Ursaluna is. If they have it on a team with Whimsicott, like, I would expect it to be quite speedy. But yeah, I think either way, this is generally pretty safe. And then, like, one of the things to think about is how we have Pawmot. You know, imagine, like, as Tailwind expires, I'm able to Revival Blessing and then get a second Dondozo set up in this game. We might not even need it, though, to be honest, depending on how this turn plays out. Okay, it is going to be Terra. So if this is defensive Terra, Ursaluna, I think that'd be huge for my opponent. But it's going to be Gallade Terraing into Steel. Steel Terra Gallade. I guess they did that just to resist a Brave Bird, but now you're just weak to Earthquake. And they try to Psycho Cut into Talonflame, so they were really spooked out by Talonflame, it looks like. But yeah, like, even with Tailwind set up, Dondozo's just faster than Ursaluna and gets the KO here. This is the problem with leading Ursaluna. You normally need a turn for that Flame Orb to get activated, so, like, most players are going to protect. Normally, what, you know, the thing you could do to take advantage of people ignoring Ursaluna is Swords Dancing, but with Unaware Dondozo, I don't even have to care about it, so, yeah. Now my opponent's down a Terra, right? Typhlosion's their last one, but I don't see how they really beat Dondozo. We can just click Earthquake. Actually, we should be clicking Wave Crash. Also, we want to stall to turn a Tailwind here. But we should be clicking Wave Crash just because Glade does get access to Wide Guard. We don't want to give them free damage here. Yep, exactly. So now we've scouted out the Wide Guard as well. Is this just a regular Solar Beam without Power Herb? Because if so... Oh, it is. That's fascinating. Okay. Well, now we just go for Terra and Wave Crash. Yeah, and Glade didn't have any way to hit Dondozo for good damage. I think, like, Ursaluna was just kind of a liability for my opponent, right? It was out on the field for 2 turns, wasn't able to really do very much. But to be honest, I think the only way they could have had a way of winning this game is if they had like a defensive Terra on the Ursaluna, like Grass Terra. But normally people like to run Ghost Terra on Ursaluna, so... This was a game where I looked at Team Preview and I was just like, I don't really see any clear Dondozo answers. And we were able to just fully take advantage of that. I mean, yeah, this combo was just ridiculously strong, right? It was so dominant in Scarlet and Violet VGC, and even at the World Championships this year, like, newer versions of Dondozo came out. And so, this is why I say it's a team that you must be prepared for in this format. Tailwind Peters out. And now we just Wave Crash. Beautiful. Yeah, and now, like, you know, one of the things that makes this regulation different from when we were playing Scarlet and Violet VGC initially is the inclusion of Pokemon like Talonflame and Whimsicott. And Talonflame being able to, you know, pressure with Tailwind and Will-O-Wisp while also being able to pressure Whimsicott with Brave Bird is a really big deal here. So, yeah. Even though they were able to set up their Tailwind, like Talonflame plus the Dondozo, I think just exerted a lot of pressure immediately. And Dondozo is bulky enough in this game where I don't need to switch into Tatsu immediately. All right, this is a fun one. We got Dragapult, Ursaluna, Farigiraf, Rilla, Incin, and Ninetales. When we previously played Scarlet and Violet VGC in like Reg 1 or Reg A, Series 1, almost none of these Pokemon were actually around, right? Not almost, more like half, right? But this is a really fun combination of everything. So, things to worry about from a Dondozo perspective. Encore, Ninetales, Will-O-Wisp, Incin, and Intimidate. Will-O-Wisp, Dragapult, potentially. What do I want to lead with? I don't think we bring Dragonite into a matchup with Ninetales. I think Gholdengo's not bad here. I'm leaning towards Dondozo Gholdengo with Pawmot plus Tatsu in the back. I think Talonflame could work if I just wanted Tailwind. Like, what I could do is Talonflame, Gholdengo, Tailwind, Steel Terra, make it rain. But basically my issues with Talonflame are that Brave Bird is blocked by Farigiraf on turn 1. And turn 2, like, you know, if I don't actually take damage, it's kind of awkward. And I don't know if I actually want Tailwind. To me, we want to eliminate Ninetales ASAP. If I can get rid of that, then I can attack with Dondozo more effectively. But yeah, the combination of like Encore, Aurora Veil, and getting the defense boost from Snow is kind of annoying. Farigiraf, Dragapult. Okay. This is interesting. Mainly curious if you're Will-O-Wisp. I personally don't mind going for Protect. Steel Terra, make it rain. I think the only thing this like probably loses to would be Ghost Terra, Dragapult helping hand Terra Blast into Gholdengo. But I love this lead because I think so often people need to respect Gholdengo switching into Tatsu immediately. Like, I easily could have switched into Tatsu and gone Wave Crash into Farigiraf or Order Up into Dragapult. But Make It Rain is also just so oppressive here. So Dragapult's not protecting. Farigiraf actually protects. Okay, that's fine. Phantom Force? Okay, that's fine by me. We do blow the Terra as a result. But Phantom Force shouldn't even KO us this next turn. I guess if you're Choice Banded, maybe. And they probably targeted the Dondozo slot, right? I think you must have, because it'd be so risky if I just switched in Tatsu and you targeted the wrong slot. So I'm actually going to go to Pawmot right now and click Make It Rain. I mean, I'm making an educated guess here. Like, they theoretically could have targeted Dragapult, and if so, that is just really risky, because I think their game plan here is to Helping Hand Phantom Force this next turn. Okay, they don't go for Helping Hand, but that's still totally fine. Yep, perfect. So we bait that out. And now I get Make It Rain. I could have switched into Tatsu here as well, of course, but like Choice Specs Make It Rain is just so powerful in this position. It's just a double KO right there. So, excellent. Now we're up 4-2, and there's no Free-Graph, so I have Fake Out Pressure this next turn. I think it's honestly probably fine to just send Dondozo in now. I mean, the good thing is, like, we'll get, like, the Fake Out users out immediately, like Rilla Instant, and then you can't cycle Fake Out anymore. But yeah, I think the thing about Dragapult in Best of 1 is not knowing what set it is. You can run Choice Band on it. You can run Focus Sash, like Support, for example. Ursaluna, Rillaboom. Cool. What do I actually want to do against this? Fake Out Rillaboom plus Make It Rain, in my opinion, is pretty safe. Dondozo obviously beats Ursaluna in the end game, so all I need to do is get enough damage onto Rillaboom where one more attack KOs it. Ooh, they've got Vacuum Wave on Ursaluna. Okay, I mean, I think that's still fine. It just means I don't get the Revival Blessing off anymore, but I still get Specs Make It Rain. And I think, like, Gholdengo by itself just wins us the game right now. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like, none of their Pokemon take Specs Make It Rain in this matchup, so... Perfect. Heal back up. Now we can just bring out... I don't even need to bring out Dondozo, right? I can just bring out Tatsugiri. Yeah. And just go for Dragon Pulse here and Make It Rain. You can Glide Vacuum Wave KO Tatsugiri, but then your Ursaluna is just one more Make It Rain away from getting KO'd, so... Choice Specs Steel Terra Gholdengo is just an absolute monster, and okay, they don't go for the prio moves here. So Dragon Pulse almost just KOs Ursaluna, nice, and Make It Rain just comes out again. Phantom Force is a really powerful move, but yeah, I think like knowing relatively where my opponent was going to target with that, especially when I lead Dondozo Gholdengo, it meant that I had these like relatively safe plays to make. And then having the Sash on Pawmot to soak up that damage and not get KO'd was also a big deal. So yeah, I think my opponent would have actually been better off letting Free-Graph faint on turn 1. You let Free-Graph faint, and then they would have had Fake Out online as well. So then you bring Rillaboom out, and then you can Fake Out Gholdengo, which no longer is Ghost typing because I Steel Terra on turn 1. But obviously from there, and it's hard to predict for the Terra immediately to begin the game. But yeah. I think like this is the thing where like being patient on combining with Dondozo can have huge dividends, because it's tempting to just have gone for it immediately, but because we have so much damage with the rest of the team, like if I combine it to Dondozo, then the second turn I just eat up a huge Phantom Force. Dondozo can only get one knockout, then they bring out Rillaboom and they can go Fake Out Phantom Force again, and Dondozo actually slowly gets chipped away, right? So whereas Gholdengo, like there's just not a single Make It Rain response, especially with Incineroar not coming out in this battle. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much as always for joining me. Had a lot of fun featuring a ton of different early Regulation H teams and fighting against them with Dondozo. Like I said, this team is going to be everywhere. So as you play through the format, it's really important that you figure out how it works and how to beat it as well. So hopefully this video can help a little bit in that. Anyway, thanks so much as always for joining me. My name is CybertronVGC. If you enjoyed, would really appreciate if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.